You let someone speak to you in a way that made you feel small. And you said nothing. You agreed to something you did not want to do. And then spent days resenting it, but not the person who asked. Yourself. For saying yes. You looked in the mirror and the first thought was not neutral. It was a list of things wrong with you. You stayed somewhere, a relationship, a job, a friendship. Long after it stopped being good for you. Because leaving felt like too much to ask for yourself. If any of that sounds familiar, I want to talk to you today about self-respect. Not confidence. Not self-esteem. Not loving yourself every single day. Self-respect. Because there is a difference. And understanding that difference might be the most important thing you do this year. Let's start with what self-respect is not. Self-respect is not thinking highly of yourself. It is not waking up feeling good. It is not being confident in how you look or what you have achieved. Those things can disappear with one bad day. One bad comment. One rejection. Self-respect is something quieter and much more durable. Self-respect is the way you treat yourself when no one is watching. It is the standard you hold for how you allow yourself to be treated. It is the line you draw, and keep, between what is acceptable and what is not. Psychologists define self-respect as a form of self-regard. That comes not from your achievements or how others see you, but from living in alignment with your own values. In other words, you respect yourself. When you act in ways that are consistent with who you know yourself to be. When you honor your own needs, limits, and truth. Even when it is inconvenient. Even when it costs you something. Even when no one else would know if you compromised. That is self-respect. It does not mean you never struggle. It does not mean you are always sure of yourself. It means there is a quiet voice inside you that says, I will not betray myself. Not for comfort. Not for approval. Not for peace that comes at my own expense. Now here is what no one talks about clearly enough. When you do not respect yourself, there is a very specific feeling that follows you everywhere. It is not always sadness. It is not always low self-esteem in the way people usually describe it. It is a particular kind of tiredness. The exhaustion of constantly managing everyone else's feelings, while you're sit in a pile in the corner. The exhaustion of performing okay when you are not okay. The exhaustion of pretending you did not notice. The way someone just spoke to you. When you do not respect yourself, you become a person who outsources your worth to other people. You need them to validate you because you do not yet validate yourself. So you work harder for their approval. You shrink yourself to fit their preferences. You tolerate things that hurt you. Because losing their approval feels more threatening than losing yourself. Psychologists call this external locus of control. When your sense of value is located outside you, in other people's reactions and opinions, rather than inside you, in your own judgment. And what it does to you over time is devastating. Your mood depends on how others treat you that day. Your confidence disappears the moment someone shows disappointment. Your decisions are made based on what will be approved of, rather than what is true for you. You stop trusting yourself. Because every time you ignored your instinct, every time you said yes when you meant no, every time you stayed when you knew you should go, you sent yourself a message. The message was, your feelings do not matter enough to act on. Repeat that message enough times, and you start to believe it. Now here is the part that matters most. You were not born without self-respect. Every child has an instinct for dignity. They cry when they are hurt. They pull away from what feels wrong. They say no with their whole body before they ever learn the word. Something taught you to override that. For many women, it started in how love was given. If you grew up in a home where love was conditional, where affection came when you behaved, when you were agreeable, when you did not make things difficult, you learned very early that your worth had terms. If someone you loved diminished you repeatedly, told you that you were too sensitive, Too dramatic, too much trouble. You learned to see yourself through their eyes. And their eyes were not kind. If you were in a relationship where you had to earn your place, where keeping them happy was always your job, where the alternative to staying small was losing the relationship entirely, you learned that your needs were a liability. Something to manage down. Something to apologize for. And then there is the larger world. A world that consistently teaches women that being wanted is more important than being whole. That being liked matters more than being true. That making everyone comfortable is a virtue, even when it is a violence against yourself. So you learn to abandon yourself before anyone else could. You beat the world to it. And it felt like being responsible. Like being mature. Like being the bigger person. But it was not. It was self-betrayal that wore the clothes of self-sacrifice. And this is important. The fact that it made sense to learn it does not mean it is true. It does not mean you have to keep doing it. Let me give you specific things to look for. You may be living without self-respect. You regularly agree to things, plans, requests, situations that you do not actually want. Because the discomfort of saying no feels worse than the resentment of saying yes. You stay in situations, relationships, friendships, jobs that have stopped being good for you. And your reason for staying is always about them. Never about a genuine benefit to you. You accept treatment from people in your life that you would not accept from strangers on the street. When someone hurts you, your first instinct is to understand why they did it. To build the case for them. Before you ever acknowledge that you were hurt. You consistently put your needs last and call it not being selfish. You feel a low, constant guilt when you do something for yourself. As if your own needs are an indulgence that has to be justified. You speak about yourself in ways you would never speak about someone you love. Stupid. Pathetic. Weak. Too much. Not enough. You find it genuinely difficult to receive a compliment without deflecting or minimizing it. And the most invisible one. You make decisions based on what you can get away with wanting, rather than what you actually want. You limit your own desires before anyone even gets a chance to say no. Because you have already decided that you are not worth asking for. If several of these are familiar, self-respect is not something you are low on. It is something that has been systematically taken from you. And it is something you can rebuild. Here are real, practical steps. Not inspiration. Action. Step 1. Start keeping your word to yourself. Self-respect is built through evidence. Your brain does not believe what you tell it. It believes what you show it. Every time you make a commitment to yourself and break it, you confirm the belief that you do not matter. Every time you keep a commitment to yourself, even a small one, you build evidence that you do. This week, make one promise to yourself per day. Small ones. I will go to bed before midnight. I will not check their social media. I will eat something real today. And keep it. Not for anyone else. For the evidence. Because what you are really building is a track record of being someone who shows up for herself. Step 2. Practice the boundary before you need it. Most people wait until they are in the moment of discomfort to try to hold a boundary. And in the moment, the pressure is too high and the habit is too weak. Think of a situation where you consistently abandon yourself. A person you always say yes to when you mean no. Write down what it would look like to respond differently. Write the exact words. Not an essay, one clear sentence. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. I need to think about it before I commit. Practice saying it out loud. Alone, in your car, in front of a mirror. Make the words familiar in your mouth. Before your nervous system has to face the real moment. Step 3. Interrupt the self-talk. The way you speak to yourself is not just commentary. It is instruction. When you call yourself stupid for making a mistake, Your brain files that as information. When you dismiss your own feeling as dramatic, your brain learns that your feelings are not trustworthy. Starting today, you are going to notice the voice. Not fight it. Not argue with it. Just notice. When it says something cruel, the way you would not say to anyone you love. Pause and say, that is not a fact. That is a habit. And then try a replacement. Not forced positivity. Just neutrality. I made a mistake instead of I am so stupid. I am struggling with this instead of I am pathetic. Neutrality is enough. You do not have to love yourself today. You just have to stop attacking yourself. Step 4. Remove one source of self-betrayal. Look at your life right now. What is one thing you are tolerating that is quietly teaching you that you do not matter? A friendship that is always on their terms. A habit that leaves you feeling worse every time. A way someone speaks to you that you keep excusing. You do not have to solve it all today. But pick one thing. And do one act, even a small one, that says, this is no longer acceptable to me. You do not have to explain it. You do not have to have a perfect conversation about it. You just have to take one step in the direction of your own dignity. Step 5. Learn the feeling of respecting yourself and chase it. Here is what self-respect feels like when it is working. It feels like quiet. Not happiness exactly. Not pride. Quiet. The absence of that low background noise. The one that was always asking, am I too much? Am I good enough? Do they approve? Did I upset them? Should I apologize? When you start making choices that are in alignment with who you are, that noise gets softer. You say no to something that was wrong for you. And instead of guilt, there is a breath. You hold your boundary. And instead of shame, there is something solid. You keep your word to yourself. And instead of emptiness, there is trust. It does not feel like fireworks. It feels like coming home. Learn that feeling. Recognize it. Make decisions that produce it. Because that quiet is not nothing. That is what it feels like to live as a woman who respects herself. I want you to understand something before we end. Self-respect is not something you have or you don't. It is something you practice. Every day you are faced with small choices. How to speak to yourself when you fail. Whether to say yes when you mean no. Whether to stay somewhere that has stopped being good for you. Whether to keep a promise to yourself. Every one of those choices is a vote. A vote for the woman who knows her worth. Or a vote for the version of you who was taught she had to earn it. You have been casting votes a long time. Some of them have not been in your favor. But every single day is a new ballot. And what you are building, slowly, quietly, choice by choice, is a life that reflects your actual value. Not the value that was assigned to you by people who could not see you clearly. Your actual value. Which has always been there. Whole and unearned. Waiting for you to act like it. Start today. Not because the world will change overnight. Not because it will be easy. But because you are the only person who can do this for yourself. No one is coming to give you permission to take yourself seriously. You have to give yourself that. And when you do, when you start living like a woman who respects herself, you will find that the world starts to reflect it back. Not always. Not immediately. But enough. Enough that you will know the difference. Enough that you will never want to go back. You are worth the effort it takes to get there. I know it. Now it is time for you to know it too. That is who you are. That is who you are becoming.